Welcome back. What if I told you that with just a few lines of code, you can effortlessly find and replace multiple values in a large data frame? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to implement find and replace within pullers. Get ready to transform your data like a pro. We'll be demonstrating how to perform acronym decoding on a customer feedback dataset. This customer feedback surrounds a fancy new AI application, that is, artificial intelligence. Of course, this data is just fictional, but our goal is to make the information more accessible to those unfamiliar with techie acronyms. Before diving in, I want to make a note that I'm using the most recent version of Pollars, which at the time of this recording is version 1.7.0. This is important because some of the functionality that I'll be showing you today is only available in more recent versions. Okay, with that said, let's dive in. First, we'll load our dataset, which contains our customer feedback on the application. We'll use the read CSV function to open the data from a CSV file and display it using Pollars. So I'm going to come into this first cell here, and I've got the import ready to go, and I've got some configurations that I'm setting up just to set the string length a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and run that. Okay, so now we have our import ready to go. Let's go ahead and read the data in now. So I'm going to type data and set it equal to pl.read CSV. And then we're going to use this application feedback CSV file here. So let's go ahead, pull that into here. And then I want to view the data. So I want to just print the data variable there and run the code. Scroll up just a little bit so we can see the full thing. And so now when we run the code, you can see that we get back a clean looking data frame with about 10 records. Okay, now that we have our data variable, we can start searching for acronyms. We have a pre-made list of a few acronyms that will need to be changed. And so let's go ahead and read those in now. I'm actually going to just copy and paste from my notes, just because that will be a little bit easier. So there's different acronyms that we can see in this data set already. We've got UX, API, Internet of Things. There's all sorts of other acronyms that aren't, this isn't a comprehensive list, but we're going to go ahead and look for these ones specifically. Okay, so in order to search for the acronyms, we're going to use the contains any method. And if you tuned into a previous video, you'll notice that we've used this one already. We used it for regular expressions, and basically it does the exact same thing that we're kind of doing right now. The only difference here is rather than using a regular expression, we're going to use a list of string literals. So that's what we've got here. Okay, let's go ahead and read this in. And then we're going to use the contains any method. So I'm going to type data and then say with columns. And then within here, we're going to pass in pl.col. So we're going to select the customer feedback column. And we got to get this right, so bear with me here. Okay, customer feedback. And then we're going to call the string expression off of it. So we're going to say .str, and then we're going to say contains any. And then we're going to pass in our list of acronyms. So this will be really easy here, just autocomplete. And then we want to alias this as a new column. And we're going to alias it as contains acronym. Okay, now we have that. Let's go ahead and run the code. Okay, and when we run the code, we get back a new column with a Boolean value indicating whether that column contains one of the acronyms in our list. And you can see here in the data, we've got some falses for ones where it didn't match on, and then we've got true for everywhere else that it did find one of those acronyms. Okay, so this is great, but it doesn't really tell which acronyms it found. Perhaps a more useful technique would be to use the extract many method. Okay, so just a recap of the extract many expression. Basically what it's going to allow us to do is pass our list of acronyms, and it's going to return a list of all of the matching values that it found. So let's go ahead and utilize that now. I'm actually going to reuse most of the code that we used just up above here. So let's go ahead and copy and paste that in. And then the only thing we need to change here is the expression that we're using here. So we're going to change it to replace and then many. Okay, let's go ahead and run this data. And that is actually my bad. I did replace many. It's actually extract many. So got my expressions mixed up there. Let's go ahead and try that one more time. Okay, so in the output, we get a comprehensive list of all instances where the acronyms were found. And we can see that the most of the rows have about one acronym match, but we do have one down here, row number 9, that has 2. So we actually know that this row specifically has more than one acronym match. Okay, so now that we've found some acronyms, let's go ahead and decode them to make them more readable. We'll utilize the replace many function. That's the one I mixed it up with just previously. But this is actually going to be used to now replace the acronyms with the full expression of the word. So rather than AI, we're going to change that to artificial intelligence, and all the other acronyms we're going to do the same thing for. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit and click into the cell. Okay, you have two options when you use replace many. The first option is to pass a list of patterns that you want to replace. This would be the list we defined above. So that one acronym list that we made previously, we could pass that. And then we would just need a corresponding list of replacement values. But just about a month ago, the Polars team added another option, which is much cleaner and definitely a better way of doing it. So let's go ahead and describe the second option. So the second option is to create a mapping or dictionary with the key being the search term and the value being the replacement term. And I'd consider the second option to be a best practice, and so I'm going to demonstrate how to replace values using the mapping option here. So first thing, we need to create a Python dictionary. And I'm going to just copy and paste from my notes here. And so now this is our mapping variable that we're going to read into our Python interpreter, and we're going to be using this to replace all the values. Okay, now that we have that, we once again need to use the similar functionalities that we were doing before. So we're actually just going to copy and paste yet again. And this time, we're going to change just a couple things here. So we're going to make this replace many. And then we're going to change the alias. We're actually going to remove it completely because it's basically going to overwrite our customer feedback column, which is what we want it to do. We need to make sure that we're using the mapping variable. So let's go ahead and pass that in. And now let's go ahead and run this code. In the output, we get a new version of our customer feedback column with the acronyms in their full expression. So you can see this first row here, replaced AI with artificial intelligence. We've got user interface that got replaced, application programming interface got replaced. So these are some very handy tools, and essentially we've performed an acronym decoding. Okay, and that is all we have for you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll catch up with you at the next one.